everybody, my name is Mars. You can call me MG if you would like, and today's video is my April wrap-up and May TBR. April has been a time. I've been doing several readathons, so I've got a ton of books to talk to you about, so let's just get into that right now. So the first book that I read was File Under 13 Suspicious Incidents by Lemony Snicket. This is book 2.5 in the All the Wrong Questions series. So All the Wrong Questions is a 4-book series that's kind of like a prequel to a series of unfortunate events, and it follows Lemony Snicket as the main character when he is an apprentice in the organization he works for, and this is a collection of short stories that take place during this time period of his apprenticeship, and it's really fun because the way they do it, if I can flip, is they give you a opening to the story, and then you have to flip to the back. If I can find where it starts, to get the conclusions of the story, so you can kind of figure it out yourself. And most of them I figured it out on my own, but some of them were a little bit trickier, and I just thought this was a really cute, fun read. Then I picked up What Manner of Man by St. John Sterling, who is someone I met through Tumblr, and this is a gay serial fiction featuring a priest and a vampire, and I binged it. The writing style is exactly what I need in a story, and the character work was just so great. There's a sword lesbian. It's such a fun story, and I will link it in the description for you guys to check out because it is free and completed, so you can binge it the way that I did. The next book I read was Like a River Glorious by Ray Carson, which is book 2 in the Gold Seer trilogy, which is historical fantasy about a girl during the American Gold Rush who can sense gold in the ground, and this was a 10 out of 10. It was absolutely fantastic. It was better than the first one, which I loved the first one, but this one was just like a notch above, and I'm so incredibly excited to finish up this trilogy. Following that, we had another 10 out of 10, and that is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. My second favorite book of all time is An Enchantment of Ravens, and I also really loved Vespertine, so I'm like, I gotta get to Sorcery of Thorns, and I did, and it was so good. I was like really emotional while reading it. Like there were some times where I was choked up, and now the only Margaret Rogerson I have left to read is Mysteries of Thorn Manor, which is a novella epilogue of sorts to Sorcery of Thorns, and I'm so excited for it. After that, I picked up The Bellwoods Game, which I actually listened to as an audiobook instead of reading it physically. I figured it was safe to be my first fiction audiobook because it is middle grade, it's pretty short, and it was just a lovely time reading it. This is, if I consult my reading journal, it's by Celia Crampion, and it was narrated by Caitlin Kelly, and I think she did a fantastic job with the narration. It was lovely. Then I picked up my first Crystal Sutherland book, and that is The Invocations. I have this gorgeous special edition that has the metallic pink sprayed edges, and I adored this. I gave it a 9 out of 10, so it's not like an absolute top favorite, but still fantastic, and it was just so good. I loved the magic system in it, and I love the way the 3 main characters worked together, and I just can't wait to pick up more of her books. This is just a fantastic reading month to start off, if you can't tell, but Crystal Sutherland is definitely an author I would like to get to more of her books sooner rather than later. Then we have kind of a weird one, and that is Myrtle Volume 2. This is a collection of logic puzzles that are all murder themed, and I did volume 1 last year, and then I started this on January 1st, and I did 1 puzzle a day, and there are 100 puzzles in here, so I finished it up in April, which is why I'm counting it for that month, and I liked the first one a little bit better, but this was still so fun. I really love logic puzzles, and the fact that there's a story that follows throughout is just so cool, and I'm going to be picking up volume 3 when it drops at the end of this month. Following that, I picked up Beautiful Nightmares by KJ Sutton, which is the 4th book in the Fortuna Sworn series, and this was kind of a bummer. It was my first not fantastic book of the month, and I gave it a 6 out of 10 because the first. Okay, so first of all, this book is 900 pages. Goodreads says that the ebook is supposed to be 600 something pages. It's not, it's 900 something. And the first like 200 to 300 are low key unbearable. There were many times where I was considering DNFing it, and if it was like the last book in a series or like a standalone, I probably would have, but because it's like the middle of the series, I'm like, I kind of want to see where things go and what happens with some side characters that I love. The second half of the book, and particularly the like last third of it, were so good and like really redeemed it. It was just that opening that I could not stand. So I am looking forward to continuing the series, but I am probably not going to pick up book 5 for a couple of months to give myself a breather. And then we have The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, and this was just a really quick read, and I listened to this as an audiobook as well, and it was a reread. I think I read it in high school because this is definitely the sort of thing you study in high school, and it was just fantastic. I love the narration, and it's just so spooky and creepy and amazing. The book I read after that was another short one, and that was The Encounter by K.A. Applegate, which is the third Animorphs book, and I'm still really enjoying this series. It's really fun and fast paced, but also kind of dark, and I have so many more books to read, but I will definitely enjoy them if they go the same way that the first couple of books have gone. Next up was Titus Andronicus by William Shakespeare, and oh boy, we're talking about dark books. This is one of them. I like the story, I just don't really enjoy the ending. I feel like the characters didn't really go anywhere. This is a story about revenge and the cycle of violence, which is interesting, but no one really learned from anything, and it was just a little bit disappointing in that regard. After that, I picked up The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and I really enjoyed this book. It was another one where the beginning was kind of rough, but it definitely grew on me as I read it, and it's just a very sweet and simple romance. It's like a rom-com, but witchy. I would describe this as Mary Poppins meets practical magic, but there's also an adult romance that happens. There is a sex scene, which is kind of weird and a little off-putting because the rest of the writing style is so like young to me. Like I feel like the writing style is very YA, but the story is not, and that was a little bit of a discrepancy, but other than that, I had a lovely time. Then I picked up Slaves of Sokro, which is the fourth book in the Brother Band Chronicles by John Flanagan. Y'all know I love this series, this author. Anything he writes, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love, except for one book in the Ranger's Apprentice series, but we're not gonna talk about that right now. I just had a great time reading this. It's so fun, and I am so excited to continue on. I did recently order books 6 and 7 because I only owned up to book 5 before that, so I am prepping for the next couple of months for my Brother Band reads. Unfortunately, after that, I had a DNF, only my second one of the year, and that was The Seeker's Shadow by Isadora Brown. I was going into this thinking it was an urban fantasy retelling of Alice in Wonderland. I was very wrong. It's like the TV show Once Upon a Time, but on steroids, and even more confusing than in Once Upon a Time, and I just didn't like any of the characters, and the writing style was kind of weird and off-putting, and I just got to about 18%, and I'm like, you know what? I don't need to put myself through this, so I DNF'd it. And finally, we come to the book that I am currently reading, and that is The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan, the first book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series, and I'm having a great time. I'm about a third of the way in, and my plan is to read the first few Percy Jackson books to take me out through the rest of the month. I do have about a week left in April when I'm filming this, and I'm thinking I'll probably get through the first 3. And I am rereading all of these books as well as all of the Heroes of Olympus because I have The Chalice of the Gods, which is technically the 6th Percy Jackson book, but it's also kind of the start of its own trilogy, and it takes place after Heroes of Olympus, so I'm like, it's been many, many years. Let's give the series a reread, and then I can have it all fresh in my mind for reading the new Rick Riordan books. The second one is coming out this year, and I assume the third one would be coming out next year. So I'm just getting caught back up into this world and having a lovely time. And with that out of the way, it is time to pick my reads for the month of May, and May is going to be quite hectic. I already have several obligation reads because of book clubs and reading challenges, and also I had a card carryover from last month, so I have my deck here, and right on top I have the Familiar, which I pulled for April and decided to postpone because it didn't fit with my many, many readathon plans. And I promised a pet pick for this because the prompt for this card is either a pet pick or a book with an animal companion. However, I feel really bad for doing this, but my cats are both currently sleeping out in the living room, and the living room is where my boyfriend has his desk set up, and he works from home, and he is currently in the middle of a very big, important meeting, so I can't really interrupt him. So actually, I was gonna say I'll pick a book with an animal companion, but I feel bad. I promised you guys a pet pick. I'll do the pet pick, and I'll just film it later. Hopefully, one of the reasons why I postponed this was because if I didn't film it then, I probably wouldn't remember, but I will make myself remember. I will film this pet pick somehow, and I will get that for you because I did promise, and I feel bad breaking that promise. So I'll do the pet pick, but this is our first one, and I still have to do 3 polls because that was a carryover from last month. So let's find out what our 3 new cards for the month of May are. I have my deck here. Let's split it here. Sure, why not? Just to show that I am not cheating and putting specific cards on top. So our first card is the Four of Undead, one of my favorites. We know that I love the pastels. Then we have, one of the Fae, the Three of Fae. And the last card for May is the Four of Aberrations. So I will consult my little cheat sheet of prompts and pick some books and come back to you. And at some point I will insert the footage for my pet pick, but we'll figure that out, or at least I'll figure that out in editing. I'll be back. It's me again. I have gone through every single book on my TBR shelf, and through my digital TBR, and through like books that I own and would be interested in rereading. I cannot find anything with a fish or a sea creature on it. I'm very disappointed because the next Brother Band Chronicles book, which is a like water fantasy, ocean fantasy, what is it called? They're on a boat, they're like Vikings, has a scorpion on the cover. They're going to the desert, and I'm so mad, like, why? So it doesn't work. I'm going to postpone this to give myself another month to find a book to read for this eventually. So, because I'm postponing, it means we have to pull another card. So I've got my deck. We're gonna split it again and hopefully get something that I can actually fulfill. It's been like 15 minutes of me frantically searching for this book. I filled all the other prompts, not the pet pick yet. I'll be filming that later. It's just been a time. I don't know why. I just don't have any books that fit the prompt. But our new card is going to be the Sorcerer. Okay. Don't know what that means. We'll find something, hopefully. Hello. I'm back. It has been quite the adventure picking out books for these prompts, but I am back, and let's talk about what I'm going to be reading in May. So the first card we have is the Familiar, of course, and I will insert here my explanation of what I'm doing and the pet pick and all of that jazz. Okay, so it is a couple hours later, and as you just saw, I had 3 pieces of paper with some book titles written on them that I tossed to Gremlin, and in the first try, she grabbed 2 of them. So I then took out the other one and threw just those 2 at her, and now I have the winner. Let me show you what the options were first. I'm like, let's go for some short ones because I have already kind of a stack of books to read next month, and I wanted something easy. So my options were The Maid by Nita Prose, The Thief by Fuminori Nakamura, and A Tale of Time City by Diana Wynne Jones. So now, if we open this up, the winner is, can you see that? It's gonna be backwards, but it's The Maid. So I will be reading this book. All 3 of these I got in Free Little Libraries. This one, ooh, kind of dirty, but like no more so than I would expect from Free Little Library. It just looks a little bit water damaged, I think. Yeah, whatever. This is, I can, there's a book club guide. That's fun. I just want to see how many pages. That's the acknowledgements. 285 pages, so not long at all. And I've heard good things about this one. I don't really know a lot about like what it's about or anything, but I do know it's one that people really like, so I'll be adding this to the TBR. After that, I had the Four of Undead. Ooh, I'm dropping it. And the prompt for this is a book that I've owned for too long. And for that, I'm going with The Rime of the Ancient Mariner and Other Poems by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. I have a few of these Dover thrift editions. I own a lot because I've been collecting them for years. I just really like the way they look. But I have a few that I have just been letting collect dust on my shelf, and I decided this is the one that I'm going to be reading in May. Then we have the Four of Aberrations, and the prompt for that is like dark academia. And I did do some Googling and found out that the Golden Compass, for most people, qualifies as dark academia. I didn't know that. I don't know anything about this series. I've never seen the movies or the TV series, but one of the things that I was planning on doing in May anyway was binging the series because I have all 3 of them in this gorgeous anniversary edition. So I'm glad that I could fit something that I was already planning to read onto this TBR, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I genuinely have no idea what to expect, but I am anticipating great things. Finally, we have my replacement card for the 3 of Fae. We have the Sorcerer, and there are 2 prompts for this that I get to choose between, and it's either a book from my 24 in 2024 list or a book from my 30 and 30 list, and I have gone for a 24 in 2024, and that is Scorpion Mountain by John Flanagan. I almost said by Brother Band. The 5th book in the Brother Band Chronicles, another book that I was already planning on reading, and I talked about it a little bit because it didn't fit the other prompt, but one of the sections on my 24 and 24 is series that I would like to read, and His Dark Materials is one of those series. Another one of the series is the Brother Band Chronicles. I'm hoping to finish it this year. So this definitely counts, and I'm happy to get it on the TBR. Now, with all of that craziness out of the way, these are the books that are officially on my TBR for May, plus whatever the pet pick ends up being. I don't even know how I'm going to run that, what options I'm going to give. No idea. I will figure that out later. But I am looking forward to these reads, and hopefully it's not going to take me a lot of time and effort because, like I said, I have a very busy May, so don't really think I have a lot of time for some mood reading, but the books on my TBR are good choices to balance that out. But now we have come to the end of this video, so if you've enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye everyone!